Good morning, this is Araya. Thank you for joining me this morning with my cacao. I've already done a lot of things for the day already, but part of what I've been encouraged to do is share and speak my truth and shine my light. And part of the way I'm doing that is through this little kind of video journal. So I want to try to keep these on the shorter side, but this one might be a little bit longer because I'm going to talk about one of the big things that's going on with me right now, and that's I'm going through this uncoupling, this separation, and it's been very difficult. You know, there were choices that I made that were made under the I was under the influence of something else, not a substance though. And that's not really an excuse, because when that is, you know, it's not like there's one thing that took me over. It's just like there's something that's with me, and I chose to let it influence me. I had tried many ways. I thought I was clear, but so I'm gonna go back to probably a month ago now, maybe even more than a month. I realized, so in my relationship, well, I never cheated. There were in the last year of the 3 years, there were a couple of times when I found myself attracted to someone else. And once I knew it was more than just like me feeling what someone else was feeling for me, I would talk to my partner about it. And because I understand that those kinds of things, to me, it meant that there was something missing in our relationship, or something that was leaving me unsatisfied. And so we figure out what that is. And I have had, I have been deeply affected by certain communication issues, and feeling as though, like, when things got real tough, he'd try to run and hide rather than be supportive, and especially because nowadays things aren't tough very often. It's a rare occasion, but and then the amount of animals increased, and I felt like I was that I was shouldering, the responsibility of the homestead with the gardening, our business, everything from, the graphic design to being the webmaster to marketing, doing all the cooking. And, I know he was trying, and when I'd ask, things would get done, usually. I'd also have to keep track of the bills, and it was just too much stuff I was juggling, and it was that and the communication, which to me was a big reason why I was like seeking something outside that could potentially be helpful to ease some of that, or just as an escape, a distraction from all the responsibility. Because towards the end there, it was like I knew there was all these things that I was doing and had to do, but sometimes just thinking about it, I would get exhausted, and then the last time it happened, I finally made the choice that it had to, we needed a break. I need to figure out what was going on. Fast forward a little bit, it turned out that last person, and I think all of them, there was black magic involved, because it was like I was really into them, and then all of a sudden it's just, and I do the test of making sure I'm not just feeling their emotions and stuff like that, and it wasn't that, and I'm not saying it's that individual per se, but there was something else, and I know what it is now. So my partner had went to someone, and they had said, well, there's this weakness she has, and they always use this weakness, and they'll keep using this weakness, and until it's not there anymore. So I'm thinking, like, what could this weakness be? And I'm not really one that's like so governed by, you know, my root and sacral that, you know, I'm mature enough where I don't wear my heart on my sleeve or anything like that. I do like to see the best in people, and I always have a drive to be of service, but it really, it's not that, because the first couple of years, like, you know, eyes for no one else, you know, and it always felt off, you know, it always felt really off. So there was somebody that I was close with, and I'm purposely not mentioning names. Let's call him Jack. I like that. Let's call him Jack. I used to be friends with him. We dated for several years on and off, and now that they are you know, in a certain industry where, you know, they have, they work with the Illuminati family in movies and stuff like that. And a whole part of it, whole shebang. And I had entered into indirect contracts more than once with this individual, it turns out. I knew that it was a problem over a year ago, and I you know, sought out counsel. I blocked them on everything, and without even letting them know, and I thought things would be, you know, okay after that. I even went into my Akash and I superimposed memories, because they were using my memories of them to engage in conversation. Once they engage in telepathic conversation, it's indirect consent to do whatever in my fields. And now this person, Jack, it's not so much them that's the issue, it's the entity that they serve that's the issue. So I did a session with my partner upon realizing a lot of this. Well, first, before I did the session, I get a phone call, and it's this person, Jack. And it's funny, because meanwhile, for days, there's the song Sympathy for the Devil, like, running on a loop in my mind, you know? It's kind of annoying. Keith Richards in that kind of frequency is not pleasant to hear over and over. But, you know, they were like, you blocked me. And I'm like, dude, you were using black magic on us. And they were, either, you know, they were. You know, there were like 3 or 4 months, a year and a half ago, where we just lost so much money, and it caused issues and all this other stuff. And, you know, my partner had almost left me in Texas once, all because I had asked him to cut down on the small talk while we were working, because we had already forgotten to charge like 5 people. And that was very unlike him. I knew he wasn't him that night or morning, but that morning when he took a shower, something jumped out of him. So after that, then we did a session together. And in the session, I got some answers, you know. But there wasn't healing in the session. But after the session, and during the session, we talked to the pure ones, and they're able to do things outside of the realm of free will a little bit, because they're in a higher octave, different universe altogether. So that night, there's I'm going back and forth with an entity that appears to be Lucifer. And I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that's how they appeared to me. And I know it's the same thing, appears to me as different things sometimes, but I always know that it's something weird, because its face will change, and, you know, it'll really get me deep into some kind of story. And I end up forgetting who I'm talking to. You know, sometimes they, you know, relate to my experience and stuff like that. And it doesn't feel menacing, but it feels like it's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, I want to go to sleep. Can you just leave me alone? And they don't leave you alone. You know, and I know this thing has been with me for a very long time. And so I'm going back and forth, but I'm realizing this is my weakness. This is the thing that I need to, you know, this thing that's been my friend forever, I need to make it go away, you know. So I remember that I am at the center of my being. I am all and everything, and that I'm connected to all and everything. And so I start lighting that light in my heart, and I make it like as bright as the sun, but times 1,000, and I extend it around my body. And as I extend it around my body, it's most concentrated close to me. So if somebody gets close enough to me, they get totally purified, vaporized. But if they're just getting closer, they get healed. So it's unlikely they would get too close without just backing off, you know? And I'm just saying that, you know, I love you, and I want you to have whatever existence you wish to have, just not in my fields and not in my reality. You know, you can't be this with me anymore. And I could feel it start to let up, but then I started to do like rainbow of the same magnitude, and eventually just it came out of my mouth. And it's something that I felt. And I felt this relief because I always had this tension up in my thymus, higher heart area, that it was just so frustrating because I could never get it to go away for more than a second. But this is where it came from, and I was able to. And as soon as this thing came out, I immediately started getting visuals and feeling bliss. So it turns out this thing came into me when I was about 2 years old. I went through some kind of traumatic mind control when I was about 2.5. The 33 years later was my opportunity to let it go. And it's 33 years later. But after that, you know, it was like my heart was open before, but my heart was open, but it's like this armor was gone. This thing had acted like my glue, you know, because what happened to me then, I would have broken into a million itty bitty pieces, you know. It's what held me together and took up the space of missing soul shards. And, you know, I went through plenty of traumatic experiences after that, you know, pretty intense ones. And it's like whenever I'd lose a soul shard, it would take up space where it was gone. And I was able to temper it and even probably heal it a little bit while it was inside of me because of all the work that I was doing anyway. But it was still because, I mean, I noticed that over time that dark voice got less dark, you know. I was able to overcome a lot of it even with it still in me. And now even, I know that this goes way back because even as a little kid, as a child, even though I didn't go through anything that I can remember with my family, I always felt, I'd always have like thoughts that weren't right, you know, like, you know, if somebody was jumping rope, you know, part of me would want them to trip, and I'd enjoy that fact, but then the other part of me is like, why would you even think that? Like, but it's because that one part wasn't me, but now it's gone. And that kicked off a whole, suddenly I didn't have my armor. I had realized in full view all the pain that was happening in my relationship that I was also a part of, and that was difficult to face. I realized different people in my life throughout my life, were they even really my friends, or were they just minions to get me to act a kind of way or into something, you know? And also, you know, this thing as being what it was, I mean, it was both an inhibitor, but it was also a comfort to me. It's what helped when things got traumatic. It's what helped me not feel over it. It would help me or feel less, you know. And then not having that and not having my partner has been really tough. And then facing those realities and realizations, and furthermore having to face that we need to go forward for now without one another's influence to see where life takes us, which has been very heartbreaking for me. You know, my partner is the only person that I have loved this purely, and we go way back as far as soul journey, and there's a really strong connection, like beyond you know, just boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. There's a strong bond there. There's a sacred bond there, and it's so difficult. But you know, it's because of that sacred bond that I have to have faith that we'll go on our journeys and we'll discover what we need. And we're going to, even though we might be on stepping into different timelines right now, I have faith that we'll end up on the same one. You know, maybe in a couple of months, maybe sooner, maybe in a year or two, I don't know. But I have to believe that, you know, in our last life, we were separated when we were young adults. I was of a, you know, I was a male, and I was, you know, of a higher class, and he was a female, and he was not of a higher class, and the parents disapproved, and we ended up running away together to America from Ireland, I think, and we got caught on the ship as stowaways, and we ended up getting separated until we were in our 50s, and then we spent our last days together. I hope it doesn't go like that again. But you know what? I have to have the attitude that even if it did, that there's something in, you know, there's something in between there that's meant for me and even better. But I don't really believe it would go like that again. And I say last days, it's not like we were on our deathbed, you know, when we saw each other again. It's just, you know, our last couple of decades. But I know that doesn't want to happen again. So I'm really working on just moving on with this journey. And, you know, before him, I was a very, very independent person. But I gave up a lot of that independence when I moved in with him, because I gave up my car because it would have been too expensive to get to California. I gave up most of my things because it would have cost a lot to move. I stopped, you know, working in the capacity I was, and then, but you know what, everything's perfect, and this experience is what's perfect for me. And, you know, anybody else that's going through, I know a lot of people are going through the separation of timelines of loved ones, not just in their romantic relationships, but in friendships and families and stuff like that. And this is, I feel like this is a big lesson in Divine Feminine, is to be allowing. Do I still have these cards out? Yes, these have been my little activations. This is what I'm supposed to keep. It's all about being receptive and allowing and surrender, having faith. And this one is allowance. And it's to be open. This is all about being open to whatever comes our way, without judgment or fear. Just to allow the flow. Allow the flow. Don't resist. Allow. These cards go together really well. And you know, sometimes I'll just take these and I'll take one at a time, or sometimes these go together good and just meditate on them. These are really great. There's activations in each of the pictures. So I am allowing. I'm doing my best to be allowing and to let go, and not just allowing for other people to do whatever they feel they need on their journeys without judgment, but to allow things to come my way. New opportunities and things of that nature without judgment. Now, I also did a small mushroom ceremony for myself yesterday, and you know, I'd become I don't do that very often anymore, and even when I did do it, my often was maybe like 4 times a year. So I do it even less now, and this time I only took maybe a 0.8 of a gram, but my intentions were really to connect with, you know, the parts of my soul spirit family that are nature spirits, to, you know, release some of this grief, and to attune to my heart's desire. What do I really, because ever since this whole split, and it's gotten real, I'm not really knowing, I'm not knowing where I'm headed anymore. You know, we had planned a life together, we have business together, and it kind of leaves me not unsure of the future, where I'm even going. But I did get some insight on that. And, you know, I'm in a PhD program to get my bachelor's, master's, and PhD in metaphysics. And right now it looks like holistic ministry, but I might just do the metaphysical ministry with a specialty in spiritual counseling, because I really do enjoy counseling. I really enjoy talking to people, and I already have a small background in CBT and shamanism, so I think I'm gonna go for that. But anyway, that's besides the point. I'm digressing here. I'm gonna open up a church. And it turns out that I have a few friends that want to do the same thing, and you need a council of at least 4 to open up a church and have it be a 501c. So I think that's going to work out pretty well. And my vision for this church is going to be, you know, empowerment. You know, my whole thing is empowerment, empowered healing, and practical mysticism. You know, metaphysical tools that you could use in practical ways in real life things. You know, there's a time and a place. I do like to play with the super woo-woo stuff at times, but I like to have like 80% of my stuff be very practical and real world and useful in the real world. So there's definitely going to be an aspect of empowered healing, practical mysticism, but I want the mysticism to be portrayed as such where it's very unifying. It doesn't matter what the person next to you believes. It doesn't matter what the person to the left of you believes. It doesn't matter what the person to the right of you believes. The only thing that we need to agree on is that whatever you believe, you understand that that's not the only truth. Of course, there would be, you know, kindness, authenticity, oneness. I am wanting to one day do a deep learning program where you learn about like constructs of the universe and stuff like that. But for, you know, the everyday learning and for the main learning, you definitely just need to learn about being connected to the all. It's a scientific fact that we all came from the same place, you know. So we're all connected in that way. And I want to do a lot of teachings like that about how we're all one, about how to use energy to your advantage, how to master energy, how to master your thoughts and emotions, you know, how to create the reality you wish to have. And I mean, I have come a long way, you know. I've come a very long way. So if anybody can teach that, it's me. And not just teach, I want to guide, I want to support, because teaching is telling somebody the way, but guide is guiding them to have the way shown to them in their way. So I hope those words made sense. But yeah, it'll be a place for guidance, self-discovery, interconnection, activation, and then one day down the road, like really deep learning. I envision, I've always envisioned creating this little bubble that's like, you know, this little pocket of new earth. And it's going to happen. It's still going to happen. That's my mission, and I know it. So I am very close to running on a half hour here. I am one day soon going to have an update, because I did have that entity that that I had expressed. You know, those things aren't gonna take it lying down, and it certainly tried to come back. Turns out I had this really old blood oath with this thing, well, I'll just tell you right now, there was a night recently where, you know, it was back and it was explaining to me, at first I'm like, dude, what did I tell you? You know, I'm just gonna, you know, and they're like, well, you know, you ever wonder why, you know, we just keep on like this? Well, they're in the darkness, they're in oblivion. And so we know that we have, you know, in the Tao Te Ching, they say that the light sprang from the dark was there first. So there is source, and in the beginning it's the singularity, and all around there's oblivion, right? But that oblivion, that darkness, has a pulling effect. So that pulling effect is what compels that source light to start to fractal off. Okay? So when we're talking about beings that hold space in the darkness, we're talking about beings that are in oblivion. And when they're in oblivion, it's like solitary confinement, eternal solitary confinement, but you can't see. You can only kind of telepathically project out in certain ways and think, and it's quite awful. And in my empathy of that, and knowing that we have some kind of connection, they said that at one point I had pulled them into my darkness, and that's how they got there. Very long time ago. Well, anyway, I feel as though I helped kind of liberate them somehow, and I still recognize that I'm not sure what this is, and maybe it's a part of me, maybe, you know, a direct part of me, rather than just something that is like oneness. And I really don't know, and that's not important, but it felt right and correct. And as far as I understand, they are now in the void getting healing. Which the void, I know it sounds, you know, void, but the void is just this place that's all source love, and that's where you go to get healing between incarnations, and that's where you go as kind of a bridge from reality to reality to kind of ease the transition. And the other thing is, you know, we know that these beings don't stay in the darkness forever, but how do they get out? How they get out is eventually the universe expands, because that pulling is infinite, and so that fractaling off is infinite, right? And as long as the fractaling off is infinite, then the universe expands to shed light on parts of the darkness eventually. So when the universe expands enough to cover that part of oblivion, then they eventually are able to join the universe once again and get healing. And then, you know, the cycle goes around for others that hold the space in the darkness. I know that's that is something that I would consider to be deep learning, but it was my experience this past week, and I wanted to share that. It's interesting to think about. I feel like it's activating, and you know, we need both, because without the pull of the darkness, right? Without the pull of the darkness, then that singularity would never fractal off, and there would be no movement. All things would just be one thing, and existence would get pretty boring, right? So I think that there's significance in acknowledging all the things that exist, from the polarity of the light to the polarity of the dark, because all of it has a purpose, and all of it is so perfect. Well, I'm going to wrap it up for now. Thank you for hearing my journal entry today. And I'm sending so much love and blessings And anybody out there who wants to send me a little extra love and help me overcome the pain that I'm experiencing and the grief, you know, it was for a couple of weeks there something that was more constant. Now it's more intermittent, and I'm really working hard at you know, finding my way through it and learning what I need to from it. But you know, any extra, you know, love or violet light you want to send, I'm totally open to receiving and very grateful for. Now I'm off to channel all of this into more creation. Have a great day, everyone.